Hello and welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited for you to hear from our very next guest. Her name is Jen, and she is the owner of Do Life Inspired. You are going to be able to feel her energy through the microphone. You're also going to be able to hear things much more clearly because I already can tell that the sound quality is actually way better in a closet. I had to move into my closet because there's construction going outside the building that apparently is going to be happening for months, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. So basically, I'll never get any work done unless I'm in my closet. So I'm here today. And actually, though, I've heard from other podcasters, they tend to record in closets on purpose because of the clothes. Everything absorbs the sound really well. So if you guys are listening to this, if you want to just send me a quick message on Instagram, let me know that the sound quality is way better. I would really appreciate that feedback. But anyways, back to having Jen on the podcast. I'm so excited because she really does believe in helping people step into their power. And she has a book called All Parts of Me. So if you haven't already understood just by the words that we're using, you're about to get uplifted and inspired. So I'm so excited to have Jen on the podcast. Welcome, Jen, to the Tips with Toni podcast.
Oh, Toni, that was such a beautiful introduction. I'm like, I can't wait to meet this lady. Oh, wait, that's me.
You're so funny. I love that you're here. Please introduce yourself. The first question I always ask, which I really hope you feel free to take with it as you wish and really go into it. Just explain who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
Okay. Well, who you are. I usually always say, well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, but I'm a spiritual being in this human existence, really and truly, because I wrote a book about it. That's what I help people change their mindset, shifting their view of themselves and their lives to a more empowering view, one that's in sync and inspired with who they were created to be. And I think in our humanness, we lose sight of that beautiful, special being we are created to be, because that's the energy of what we're created to. So a lot of it has to do with our mindset and energy and thoughts that become energy and become your life. So for me, it was a hard journey, but long, but so incredibly worth it.
Yeah,
where I'm sitting today.
I'm sure. So if you don't mind maybe sharing kind of where things were for you, where as you were explaining what you do, I'm like, that's a hard job. Because living in today's world, we're constantly bombarded about what we should do. It's really hard to go back to you and figure out what is it that I need to do. So the fact that you are able to help guide people towards that, I think is super special. It sounds like you struggled at some point. If you don't mind maybe just sharing kind of where you struggled and how you helped yourself through that to get to where you are today as being the expert of helping others get to that place.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. It is hard, right? Because we all have to show up for our own healing, much like you do with people who are eating. So we have to show up for our own healing. And I truly, in a nutshell, love people, love life, love food, love experiences. And I was raised very much and don't let things get you down for too long. Okay. And so that was really my mindset till about the age of 26. Met a man, fell in love, got married. And I actually, believe it or not, even at the age of 18, got hit by a car in college, walking across the street, and had a near-death experience. And at the time, I really just was very grateful. Angel saved me, and I had to compartmentalize because I'm 18. Like, what? That's way too big for me to grasp. And at the age of 26, when I was married, my husband and I had an ectopic pregnancy, and I nearly lost my life a second time. So from the ensuing years from that point, I became very much in the mind, very much fearful in my thoughts. So now I wasn't walking around afraid of my own shadow, but I really thought about everything. I planned, I didn't know that I had celiac disease, and I had always had a stomach problem since the age of 8. So I thought even more about where was I going to eat? How was it going to affect? Like, I really became a creature of fear. But I never would, if you would have said to me, to 28-year-old Jen, you're fearful, I'd have been like, excuse me? Like, I really would have not verbalized it that way. But now the over 50-year-old says, oh, that was fear. That was not love, that was fear. So I just embarked further and further into a journey in the body, really and truly a lot of pain and suffering in the body. 3 children, 2 bed rests, surgeries. At the age of 40, I had already had, I think, 10 surgeries under my belt for things in my body that were going wrong, including my retinas being detached. I mean, you name it, I had it in the body. And it's in my book because there's a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the darkest, like, saddest moment, but I think a lot of people, the most I get from the readers of my book, say that they pick out things in my pain journey that are very similar to theirs. And then they see some fabulous things from the childhood that were similar, but it was, they can find something in that pain journey. And a lot of people resonate with the not being able to look in the mirror and say, fully that you love yourself. And that was my lowest point. I had already had all these surgeries. I have beautiful kids, a home, dogs, a business, 2 businesses I had. I mean, what more would a lady want? I started to learn about energy work, and I'm like, wow, this is where God's leading me. This is fantastic. I can talk to angels. I can hear angels. This is great. Look at me. Oh, I can hear my Father in spirit. But the day that I was told, do this exercise and look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself, that was my crumbling moment. And it was in that moment that I realized that I had really pushed down for the last 7 or 8 years that I was bulimic. So while I was saying all of these things were happening to my body, right? I'm the mindset of fear. Everything's happening to me. I'm the victim. Here I am also co-creating my experience by doing this to myself. But I realized that was how I was trying to get control.
Yeah. Yes.
Of what I felt out of control with.
Absolutely. And it sounds like it stemmed from a very early age where you were told to kind of like suck it up, basically, in a nice way of saying it. And so you never really felt your feelings. So everything was fine. Everything is fine. Oh, everything's good. 100%. Or I have externally, this is going on for me. I'm successful. I have a family, but yeah, things, I think it will always catch up to you. And a lot of the times when we cope with things, it's often subconscious until it gets like so bad where you realize like, wow, this is probably not healthy and I need to get help, But
Toni, you said it, hit the nail on the head. It wasn't until like about maybe 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, that I was praying and asked, and I actually am a subconscious facilitator. I do Psych K with people because we learn so many things and we are conditioned. We don't even realize it. Before the age of 7 or 8, it's already in our subconscious. So in our world, we're trying to heal a lot of things, but we don't even realize the things that are working in the background in a program we don't even address.
Yeah. So, I want you to finish your thought, but I do have a question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, there was a shift. So even though that was a horrible experience, it was the best experience because it was from that moment on that I started to realize that something had to change. Clearly, I couldn't be this person who cries in the closet before her kids get home, take a shower, put makeup back on, and then go cook food and be happy. And how was your day? So I knew, something had to change.
So how did you create that space to start the healing process? Because like you said, especially as a mom, doing all the things, owning 2 businesses, like you said, you kind of had to show up, like it was hard for you. I'm sure it was hard for you to, even when you recognize, oh, I should probably feel my feelings. There was probably zero space or little space and time for you to do that. You'd have to like go in the closet, cry, come back out.
That's what I did.
So is that what you just allowed yourself to have those little moments? Is that what
I did? By that point, I think I was already married for 17 or 18 years by that point. Yeah. What I would do is I would go in the closet and cry and then just put myself together, and the kids would see a happy mom who was put together. Like when they read my book, they're like, wow, Mom, you went through this. I'm like, yeah, because I had to hold it together for you guys because it was in my mind. Is what I was really like, for all checklist purposes, my life was spot on. But it was a perfect example of your thoughts and your energy create the world you see. And that was where the shift started to begin. So finding space to do that, girl, I would wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate and do the Course in Miracles or whatever. I mean, I'm a student of the Course in Miracles and I love that. It's a great source of mind shift. I became a Reiki master. I would learn about that and then really, which is so hard for people to understand the bridge for this, but it's very, I'll say it concisely because this could be a completely different podcast. But the ability to connect and listen to spirit really was a like integral part of me understanding that I was a spiritual being. I went to church. I had a faith base very strong since the cradle. I mean, I even taught religion for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't understand because I always thought it was outside of me. And so when I started to understand that connection with all that we're connected with, that the mind actually can be with the ego telling us like body stuff, subconscious, or the connection to God and source and all the beauty that we're created in, I had a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I was faced with that choice. So I gave myself that time in the morning to start to learn that relationship, really, between God, spirit, angels, anything that was other than the form, I could hear it. I was seeing it. So I'm like, if I could hear that, then I'm part of that. I've got to be more than just this body. I've got to be more than the diet and the food I eat. I've got to be more than the food I get rid of. So that was huge for me.
That is huge. So, and I think a lot of people where they're struggling to break up with diets is almost like there's for so long, it was such a part of themselves to be someone who dieted or who worried about food. And so even when they start to feel like when I work with clients, it's why our team works with them for a minimum of 6 months, because they start to feel the food freedom. And it's a little bit scary because it's kind of like they almost don't know that other side. Right. So as much as you know that like the body, just focusing on the body is not serving you, when you start to explore kind of that spiritual part and just being able to trust your intuition and like listen to yourself, it can get really scary. So do you have any tips or advice for someone who might be kind of struggling where it's almost like they know they need to let go of the ego, but don't really know how to kind of grasp on the other end?
One of the biggest tools I give to my clients, and it's a simple mantra. Well, there's one from the course that says, I am more than a body. I mean, that's very simple. To understand that you're more than this physical form. Okay. But another one is, I have a choice in what I see. So we always give the choice outside of ourselves, right? So we say in the diet, we're the victim of the diet. Oh, look at my body. I'm not like this person. So we're always, everything is out exterior. So this is how we're seeing it. This is our thoughts and perceptions. So when we turn it back around and take onus and responsibility of it and say, well, I have a choice in how I see myself. I have a choice in how I see this food. I have all of the power. That's what I was talking about. You have power. And I'm not talking about muscles. I'm talking about that you were created in this power. You have the power to see yourself clean. How and how the beauty of what you see in your neighbor to see in yourself. So, I mean, I have a very limited diet since I have celiac disease.
Yeah.
So, and my 3 children did. So how do you raise kids from the age of 3, 19 years ago? I tried to do for them what I had to teach myself later on in life to do. I taught them, look how great this is. Look at how powerful you are. I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's so true, because if you fixate on what you can't have, you're always going to feel lack and scarcity, right? But if you focus on what you are able to consume, right, and you do have, you're going to feel that sense of gratitude, and it's going to shift your energy. So let's talk about energy, because I know that you are big on that. And what is so important about energy? Like, why do we need to try to get our energy up?
Okay. So really and truly, once again, it goes back to where your thoughts are seated, right? Is an energy, and it's literally you create the energy in the room, in the space. But once again, people, we do it in our body. The energy we create out here is also here. And so I know y'all have felt like when you walk into a room and you're like, oh, something feels off, and then you happen to be sitting next to maybe somebody would be a curmudgeon. And you're like, good, I found it. I found where the energy is, right? But if you hold your space and positivity, all of a sudden, the curmudgeon is not so curmudgeon anymore, and you help to shift that. So if you have the power to be able to feel that and extend that, imagine what we could do with our dieting and our and the way we think about ourselves. So when I was hit by that car when I was 18, from that I had lattice degeneration, detachment in both of my eyes, and I had surgery. In the ensuing years, I have arthritis. from C2 to 7 in my back, my feet.
Mm.
I was told that my back would have to be continued this fusions, and then my neck would have to be fused. And I'm only 53.
Mm.
So that was a lot of depression. You can't move, right? And so now you can't eat and you can't move. So all of these things. And so what do you do with that energy? You become depressed, right? You start thinking about the limits of what you can do. And I start to cycle it once again. Oh God, now I thought I was getting better and healing, and now all this stuff is in the body. And this was another example of how I had to use energy. So it's energy gets stagnant in your body. And so it's not a wonder sometimes when if you're worrying about money, it's in your root chakra, right? Because it's your back starts hurting, and energy can get stuck in our bodies. Well, if I'm feeling like my entire body is not working for me, depression's not a mystery, but neither will the continual ailments, even though you're taking Advil, even though you're exercising. Do you see? So the energy of how you're looking at your body becomes a factor. So I started to do some mind work with myself and started to say, again, that mantra, I am more than this body. I am perfectly created. I am exactly as God created me. And then I started to shift what the things that I could do, focus on the things that brought me joy, focused on not the limitations of my body, but the beautiful things that I could, write, paint, walk, talk to people. And so the focus was no longer on the can't, but on the do. And it's not a wonder now. I just walked 3 miles before I got on here. I still have the same arthritis in my body. I never got my neck fused. So you can shift the energy in your body and you can begin to heal. Now, if you took an x-ray of my body, there might be arthritis there. There might be, but I don't pay attention to it. I don't give it any further energy. So it doesn't take my life over.
Right.
But if I focus on it,
it will be there.
It will be there.
Yeah. Oh, God, I agree so much with you. I feel like if someone, what you're saying to us right now, if you can go back to when you were feeling really depressed and really had a lot of pain, and someone said that, what we're saying right now to you, what would you say?
I would tell you something that I'd been like, I would have said BIT.
Yeah.
You don't know a day in my shoes. That's what I would have said.
I just want to acknowledge that. Like, we hear you guys. You are listening, and I know your thoughts. I know that's exactly what you're saying. You're like, no, that's not me. I can't be, but like.
But that's why I love this work, Toni. Yeah. That's why I love it, because I have walked in those shoes.
Yeah.
There's literally not a person that I speak to that I can't resonate and have complete empathy, even if I hadn't had their ailment before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm like, when I say, oh, read my book, like, I'm not joking. It's like 300 pages of, holy shit, this woman went through this. Like, that's truly what the book is about. But it's not, I did not write it for that reason. So you can say, whoa, at a girl, Jen, way to go. It was that you can do this. So if you hold one thing that I did in similarity, I know you can do it, because we were created for happiness. We were not created for drudgery, pain, and suffering. That was not the purpose of creation. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like the bigger picture is, regardless of, we all have our own circumstances, our own struggles, and it's not about measuring up like this person struggles more or this person struggled longer. The lesson you're trying to come across is that regardless of your struggles, you can get through them if you believe that you can get through them.
Yes.
And if you change the way you think about them.
It's a good friend of mine says, we're more alike than we are different. I love that she says that. And it's true, because we all have something that we're having a journey through in this lifetime. We all have something.
Yeah.
And it overlaps a lot. And I say that I really do believe that the universe, or you want to call whatever name you want to give God, we don't want separation in words, right? We don't want to, but if you call it God, call it source, whatever, brings you to the people that will heal you if you're open for it. See if you're open for receiving. So when someone like you is helping people to shift their relationship with food, get over the hump of what it was their block to their desire, they've come to you for a reason, because you're the person that will help them to see that.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. Oh God, I could talk to you for hours. This is so good. I love this.
I have a lot packed in.
No, this is so good. This is so good. One thing that you really believe in helping people do is step into their power. So how can we recognize the power of what we were all created in?
Okay. Well, a lot of times the mind will deceive a little bit, right? So when we listen to the ego, well, here's a great example. Social media, right? So you go on social media and you see some of your favorite people and your mind tells you that you want to be like that person. But when you go into a quiet space, okay, and you can tap into that guidance system that is there for you, you'll notice that maybe that person is admirable to you. You find them to be someone that you want to follow and like, right? But that's not your strength. So don't compare. When you get quiet, you'll be inspired to where it is that you're supposed to be. But we oftentimes have that struggle of listening to the ego or listening to the inspiration. That's why Do Life Inspired is so important to me, because we lose sight of our inner guidance system, which is there available to us, but we are not quiet enough to hear it.
Yeah.
And so space is important. I cannot emphasize that enough. And people are like, but Jen, how do I meditate? And I said, I never asked you to meditate. Quiet time can be in, I love to paint, and that becomes my complete Zen moment. I love to take walks. I mean, nature. There's so many people. I've had clients who do dance and swaying, and they love that. Yoga. And meditation is subjective, don't you think? I mean, like, if you have 10 minutes, but the guru you're listening to says this is a 45-minute meditation, is your 10 minutes less powerful than the 45? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It's the same thing with exercise. I know a lot of people struggle with that. If they don't have 30 to 45 minutes to get a workout in, they don't do anything. But that 10 minutes of movement can really just shift your whole day mindset, even the choices you make after that, your energy, everything. And the same goes for meditation as well.
It just becomes what I've noticed with myself. So once again, I'm the expert of my own doing, right? And that's what I can extend to others. We make excuses. We are definitely creatures, our human conditioning. We are creatures of extending that outside. So I can't do this because, or this person made me do this. That guy at work was it's always out here. But again, let's flip that switch. I have a choice in how I see this. So if I want to be peaceful and find that niche, like we were talking about, how do you find that? I have a choice. There's a way. I can be quiet and listen to that inner guidance system. Like we talked about earlier before we clicked on. Pay attention to the signs because they're always available.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I'm assuming that what you help people do is you not only coach them towards coming clear of what those signs are, but I think they're, like you mentioned earlier about fear, I think coaching can be super helpful in guiding to be able to work towards it. It's like, because I think that I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people who are listening would agree that they probably have inspired thoughts every now and again. They just don't take action on them, or if they do, and then they kind of just, I don't know, they let them fizzle or whatever. So how do you help your clients like finally step into that power? So there's one thing to know your power, but I feel like a lot of people just like let it fizzle. How do you get them to fully step into it?
I always tell them first, let's just know that we're not saying don't pay your taxes and pay your electric bill, right? And go to work, right? But you are still human. And so you have your responsibilities and do your due diligence. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids are hungry, but I'm being inspired. No, feed the kids. Let's just be honest. But when you're talking about your own self-help and self-improvement, a bit of it has got to be a part surrender. It has to be. Because the ego is telling you your laundry list of do's and don'ts. Okay. Remember, we're talking about that person on Instagram who you're looking at and you're trying to compare to, and you want to be, and the ego saying, I'm going to give you a laundry list of why you're not like that. That is not congruent with the energy that you want to have in your body and in your mind and in your life. So I always tell them, let's pay attention to the energy system. Okay. So when I'm trying to be inspired and shift, I want a new career. I want to do something different. I want something that fulfills me. Going quiet and feeling like I have a client who's like, but Jen, I can feel it now. I can literally feel when something feels ego. It just doesn't feel right. Like when my skin doesn't feel right. I'm forcing this thing to make it work. That's ego. If I'm forcing this thing to make it work and it's not falling in line and it doesn't feel right with my energy, my body, then I'm knowing that's not right. When you're quiet and you're led to, I don't know, it's telling me right. Like, I'm just feeling really good. I should reach out to Mary. I haven't spoken to Mary in a long time. And you reach out to Mary and lo and behold, Mary has the next thing, the next. That's going with being inspired.
Yeah.
That feels right. I really want
Yeah.
to call Mary. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden she tells me something that's being connected to that oneness that we're all connected in.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Yeah, the forcing things to make it work. I think there's a difference between like trying hard and perseverance and
Yes.
like, putting in effort versus like clearly something doesn't work and we're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
That's like my whole mindset with like diets. I just go from one to the other to the other to the other to the other to the other. It's just not for you. Just stop it already.
Exactly. How many things, how many modalities, believe me. I mean, I probably wrote the book about, I've tried everything.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh God.
But so I think it is not, believe me, again, go talk to 30-year-old Jen and she'd been like, what the hell is energy? It's the light, the switch you turn on. What is energy? But it matters because it's who you were created. You are a spiritual and energetic being. And, obviously when I have a client that I can work with and do energy work with, it's, moving. But when we're doing Zoom calls, we definitely sit in, let's go through the energy system. Let's go through the body. I want you to start to feel what things feel like. Oh my gosh, I know what that feels like. Yeah, but you never defined it as something. So now when you get to know your energy system a little bit, now you're going to know when you go out into the world and you want to do something different, like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel right. Like my palms are sweating. Like you can start to identify things.
Right.
Anxiety. I don't want to do that.
I'm glad you brought up anxiety because I did want to go there because I feel like more than ever, more and more people, I don't know if it's that they're becoming more aware of it or if because of the pandemic, I don't know what's going on, but I myself has been experiencing more anxiety. I know that my peers have been experiencing more anxiety. It's almost like the new normal of just like, we just kind of walk around as anxious beings. What tips or ideas or what thoughts do you have on that? And do you have any kind of helpful things you can kind of share?
I do. And, and I have, my children are older. So, and I do understand because your peers are very much so fantastic, beautiful beings that are so mindful of the world and people. And I actually think that's a beautiful thing to embrace. And what I tell my kids when, there's a social situation too, this is a great example where you're in your house and you can't do anything for this person. You're thinking, oh my goodness, how sad is this? And you're very upset and it scares you. And then there's fear. I try to explain that we have a choice. It's like light or dark, right? Your room is either light or you shut all the lights off and it's dark. Well, so is our mind. Our mind is exactly the same. We're either seeing light or we're seeing dark. There's no in between. And you're either thinking with love or you're thinking with fear. And so when I talk about anxiety, it is truly an ego-driven fear in the body kind of way of thinking. I'm going to die. This person's going to die. We're all in danger. That's fear. When I realize with the God mind, right, the part of us that's safe, that I have a choice in how I see this exterior. If I see it through love, what can I do for that person that's in trouble? And by knowing that you have a purpose as something you literally can do is pray and extend love and think lovingly, do what you can do, send money, like I have a daughter, she wants to give. So she's giving, she constantly gives and she's so sweet. And I said, so what do you do on your other times? When you think of that person or that cause, take the same time you take watching something on YouTube, take the time to send love and energy and light to that. You don't realize, we talk about, the world knows about prayer, right? But we never really give it credit when it's things like that bring us fear. Well, it's the same exact tactic. Think about it in prayer or think about it as energy that you're extending that love, that part where you're safe, to that person. So if anxiety raises up in your life and you're feeling anxious about things that come up, I say, I have a choice in how I see this right now. And the fear I'm extending to this situation is affecting me. I'm having anxiety about it. How can I see this differently? I want to see this through the loving eyes. And if you start to switch the way you view things, your perception of things, they start to change. And there's less
Absolutely.
anxiety.
Absolutely. Oh, that is so helpful. Thank you so much for that. So we've talked about a lot today. Unfortunately, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I have another recording, so I do have to hop off in a second, but this has been super valuable. Is there anything you want to add or share to the listeners that maybe we didn't get to talk about today that they could leave with?
Let me think about that. I do. I mean, I know it's so cliche to say that, to find the value in yourself, and I know we've used the word self-love like, ad nauseum, honestly, we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is truly valuable to understand what you're created to be, that you are a loving being. So that means if you've done something that you think was less than loving or desirable, every single second, every moment in life you're reborn. So if you did something last year, an hour ago, 10 years ago, we forgive it because right now, nothing else exists. And you are this loving being right now as you were then. And the thing that happened, or, bulimia like me, I don't feel guilt about that anymore because that was in the past. That I send love and I hug that person, but the person I am right now in this moment is nothing but love. And I forgive that. So the loving yourself is actually letting go of all that, letting go of the past, put that luggage down, and loving yourself in this present moment, because it's the only one that's here.
I love that. It's so true. It's so true. I don't think you can really learn to love yourself until you give yourself compassion and forgiveness. And I love that. And like you said earlier, surrender, just surrender. This is the moment. This is now.
There's a reason, right? I'll show you my book, right? I told
yes.
All the parts of me. And then I also wrote Heaven Sent back in 2013 about pennies from heaven.
I love that. So the Heaven Sent is for kids, right?
Yeah. It's mostly, believe it or not, it's mostly adults who buy it. But yeah,
but I think that is just for, I have a lot of moms who listen to this podcast and dads. So I feel like Heaven Sent it's going to inspire you. It's going to teach you things, but it's also going to be a great thing to read to your kids.
Yep. It's from the perspective of a little girl who lost her grandfather.
Oh,
who was my daughter when she was 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's very special. So yeah, so Heaven Sent is one book that people can buy, and then All Parts of Me is the other one that's more for adult readers that talks about your journey. And
all the parts of me. And my so when we talk about it, it's one woman's detour into fear and trip back to love. So you can see how I really understand about fear and then love,
No, but that, I think if anybody takes anything away from today, just remind yourself, if you're ever feeling anxious, it's because you're feeling fearful. And if you want to change that, you have to change your thoughts and go from feeling fearful and to shift and give love and feel love and, be fully present.
Connect to love, right?
Yeah.
We can always connect to it. And nobody's judging you. This is not a contest. I have the opportunity, just like anybody else, to be happy, and I have a choice.
Absolutely. How can people connect with you other than buying your book? Where can people find you, reach out to you?
You can get the book on my website, jenfiore.com, or any of the sellers. I'm on I'm Target now too, so Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But I'm on Instagram, Jen Fiore. I have a YouTube channel. I have Gluten Free and Me, and so I'm pretty much, I just do what I love.
Yeah.
So of YouTube, Gluten Free and Me, and I don't know, just I'm having fun with it.
That's so great. That's so great. I love that you could be a resource for people in so many different aspects and ways. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah, no, you're so welcome. Those who are listening, if you enjoyed this episode, take a screenshot of it, tag me and tag Jen on Instagram at tips_with_Toni with an I, tag Jen Fiore. I'm going to put all of the links that she just referred to in the show notes. So definitely take a look out there, but let us know what your thoughts are. We really love doing this. I love doing this. I learn every single time I have a guest, and it's just so, I always am so filled with gratitude that I get to learn from experts like you. And this is like what I do. I'm so it's amazing. But also just, we love to hear your feedback because, I'm very interested in topics like this. And I'm curious from the listeners, I don't always talk about just straight nutrition and fitness. I really like to just talk about life as a whole. And I'm curious from those who are listening, is this something you want to hear more of? Because if it is, we'll have Jen back. I'm sure she has peers that she could refer. Like, I could talk about this for days, because I personally am at like what you kind of just described earlier. Like, now that I finally have healed my relationship with food and my body and understand I'm not just my body, I actually sometimes struggle with talking about nutrition and fitness so much, because I'm just so far past that now in my development as a human being. And I'm so much more interested in stuff like this and spirituality, because I just find that there's so much more there.
But you said you said the most beautiful thing that everybody needs to hear is you started somewhere.
Yes.
And I started with food too.
Yes,
right?
I think you always do. I mean, not always, but I think a lot of people do start there. And I think, they think that that's the answer. And it's such a small part to the answer, but it is part of the answer. So
we start with form. We start with the body, and then we move past. There you go, girl.
Yeah. Oh, I'm learning so much. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. If you're not already subscribed to the Tips of Toni podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. A new episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. When you're subscribed, you don't miss a beat. As always, this is Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.